So I just tuned in. Were you did you say you had to evacuate from the
No, we didn't have
wildfires?
to evacuate. We just
Oh, you
decided
just did.
they weren't that close to us, but it
Where are
was.
you?
We're in Beverly Hills, and
Okay.
the warning came a few streets away, but that was just the
Mhm.
not the
My
mandatory.
friend my friend Matthew had to evacuate for one night from the Sunset Fire.
From the
The
Sunset Bar. Yeah,
yeah,
that was the one that was
he's at
closest.
he's on Hollywood and Curson. He's
Very close. That yeah,
right
my
across
daughter.
from uh, Runyon Canyon.
Right. Well, our daughter lives on Gennesee there,
Hmm.
and so yeah.
Is
So
that how that's pronounced?
apparently,
Huh. 'Cause,
it looks like
the
Tennessee, but with a G. I started
yeah,
saying Genesee, and then
there's a cream ale
oh,
from the Midwest called Genesee.
oh well, I could be wrong.
They ha well,
I'm a
but
foreigner. What do I know?
no, I don't know. I I don't know how the city's pronounced. It could be different because out here there's Lancaster, and in Cincinnati there's Lancaster,
And in England, it's
or
Lancaster,
in
and
Ohio, I mean.
the great one is the Shires. When you get Americans to say Worcestershire sauce,
Yeah, Worcester.
sauce, Worcestershire.
And
It's like
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Now
tongue
I'm in
tied.
so-
You had the train accident.
I just moved from Thousand Oaks,
Oh, how
which
oh
is
yeah,
now getting smoky, I
that's
think,
okay.
getting smoky. Yeah,
No.
to Pine Mountain
Train
Club,
accident starts
California.
with the P.
and where's that?
It's
Do you know where
pronounced
Fraser
differently
Park
than
is?
someplace
Oh
else.
yeah, yeah. Whoa, up
I'm
Okay,
the Mount Fraser. That's where we used to go camping.
yeah,
Up the Grapevine.
I'm west of Fraser Park.
Yeah.
I'm on the north face of Mount Pinus.
Oh, Mount Pinos, we called it.
Mount Pinos.
We didn't know any better.
It could
We,
be. I don't.
we used to go camping up there, and
Yeah.
and our friends with our daughter's schoolmates,
Hmm.
and they would always love it because we get there early and set up the tents, and so the daughter,
Oh, excellent.
her friends and their parents would turn up, and everything would be laid out, and dinner would be
Yeah,
cooking. You know?
I have less urge to go camping because now I live
Yeah.
in the
right.
forest.
Well, it is
Don't have the
beautiful
back
up
door
there.
to the
Is it?
train.
Is it many trees? Is it dried trees? It's not. Have you been to Idlewild? Because that is a
Mm.
scary place. That looks like
Yeah,
it could go up in flames any minute.
yeah. We're moist up here.
Oh,
We
good, good.
it generally knock on wood, they haven't had a fire up here.
If you get,
We've
if
got
you
our
get,
own water. There's I think four reservoirs in Pine Mountain Club that service just Pine Mountain Club.
lovely. Well,
And
you
it's
know, you've
all
got the low dew point,
from the
haven't you?
mountain.
If you're that
Yeah,
high, yeah.
yeah. My house is at 6,240 feet,
Wow. Well, that's gorgeous.
and the top of the mountain is 8,800 and something.
Whew,
Wow.
yeah,
You've
that's
been to the
stunning.
peak now, right? You went there a couple weeks ago.
I went there from the trailhead. I haven't gone there from the house yet. I've only made it about a third of the way from the house.
Okay. You,
Literally out my kitchen sliding patio door. I can just start right up the mountain.
Yeah,
wow.
bears up there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We
Yeah,
don't
when
have
they
those in
moved in,
Beverly
there was
Hills.
actually
No.
some problem bears.
Yeah. When we were in escrow, one broke down the door, actually broke the door jamb. They had to repair that.
Ooh.
Wow. That would
But
freak me out a little bit.
after that, they moved. It was either nine or 11. It was one off from 10. Problem bears out of here. I don't know if they were euthanized or moved to Tahoe or what. They kept moving the problem bears from Tahoe to Pine Mountain Club and back, and they were teaching each other bad habits that they learned at the other
Uh,
place.
Huh. Wow.
Right.
Well, Lisa, you want to do the intro here?
Okay. Um, Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Yeah, with Lisa Phil and our co-host Aaron from California.
Howdy.
This week we're talking to Richard Sparks, who wrote New Rock, New Roll. It's a fantasy lit RPG game book.
Well,
Welcome,
yeah,
Richard. Welcome back, I should say. We had a real good
it's
time
a book
last
about
time.
a game,
Yeah.
Kinda. Yeah, well,
kind of.
thank you for having me back. Yes, it grew out of my love of gaming, but it's not set in a game. It's just, I mean, the setup is that
Yeah,
the narrator was
it
basically
is and
a
it
ret
isn't because
it
there's
is
the
and it isn't.
avatars,
Right,
The
but
right,
av yeah, but
they
they become
inhabit
their
for
own
the
avatars for
entirety.
real
Yeah.
right.
in a real world that is, you know, just like
Okay.
there's so it's adventures in another world, and our characters discover that they're own avatars. So the retired
Yeah.
English school teacher is a sort of old geezer like me, is suddenly a heroic young battle mage again.
Yeah.
And his mates, one is an Australian player whose avatar is a fearsome orc, who's great fun. I love the orcs in my books. And the third leg on the triangle is an Asian American girl, sword dancer. So she's the DPS damage.
Mhm.
And then they pick up a fourth guy in that world, and more people
Aller.
join the fun. Ola, yeah, I love Ola.
Yeah.
A sneak thief and his mutt.
Well, I
And
kind
so
of
it's
woke up
Little
this
guy.
morning feeling like not this morning, but around noon, I felt like I was like stepping into an alternate world.
Hmm.
Everything's kind of changed around here. Uh,
oops.
yeah.
Hold your breath, you know.
It's January. We're recording on January 20th. I should
Yeah.
say.
Hmm.
I'm alluding to the ogre that's taken over.
Mm.
Um, but
The ogre lark,
yeah,
as opposed to oligarch.
right.
Oh, yeah.
But
Is it-
but we should be full disclosure. Lisa and I, we had the best intentions to read the book. We didn't get through the book, but Aaron was kind enough to do a
I
fantastic book
I
report for
had
us.
to do
Yeah,
a
we had
book
a little
report
bit
for them.
trouble with the library situation, and
No, but we
Oh, well,
did.
I can always send you a copy. Did you read
Yeah.
did you read the first book or the second one, Aaron?
New Rock, New Roll.
So you haven't read New Rock, New Realm yet. That just came out.
No,
That's
I
the
haven't read the
sequel.
new one yet. I
Oh,
don't have the
well,
new one.
we'll have to get it to you. I
Yeah,
mean, good
thank you.
Lord.
Now let me
Well,
ask.
that,
I didn't have a chance to look. Is it available on Audible?
it's available on Audible. Oh,
Oh,
gosh,
cool.
we had an adventure. So New Rock, New Realm's fine. That's been out for a year. New Rock, New Realm, which I just learnt to my displeasure. They put up a faulty tape. So there are about 30 or 40 errors in it. There's even one point with me saying, no, I
Uh,
didn't mean that, which was a note to the
the
post-production
editor.
house.
Oh,
And
so
they
it's
blew it.
kind of like the guy wrote, now walk to the left.
Well, I
You
mean,
know,
it
it's
would
like
have
me
been, I mean,
saying it's like me saying, "Hey Phil, edit that out," and then that
exactly.
comes out in the podcast.
Or mistakes like saying,
Yeah.
hello, he said, hello. Things, some things like that. But
Right.
that's now been corrected. So New Rock, New Realms audiobook is now,
Okay.
according to post-production house, perfect. With me reading
Excellent.
it.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
Oh,
so
neat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you do voices?
I do voices, yes. And the weird thing is I've lived in California for 30 years and my American accent for Krista, the girl, is pretty iffy. My
Yeah.
Australian's perfect. I can do that at the drop of a hat. And of course, all the English ones are, yeah, well, that's perfectly easy. Anyone could do that. Oh, you group me, those. But
Grello the
my cat,
Oscaroos.
oh yeah, mate, no, there's no bloody problem there. Do squally pocket 'em. So yeah, I have a lot of fun doing it. And my producer Fred Sanders, who's actually at high school with my wife back east, produced the Game of Thrones audiobooks, or at least the
Oh,
last
cool.
one, Dancing with Dragons.
That's cool.
And so he's really good producer director and very very encouraging because I'm not an actor. I'm happy to read and have and
Mhm.
give it a go. But he says, just go for it, have fun. Everyone wants to hear
Yeah.
what the author sounds like.
That probably
I,
Mhm.
brings it to life. I mean, that's an extra layer of creativity,
hmm
the acting that you get to follow up the book writing with,
hmm
it's probably a pretty rewarding project once you're
It
done to have that
it
audio
it,
book.
it is great, and the first thing is just not to be shy, just go for it. And not to not to hold back. Just just let it rip. And I did a reading in New York last month. No, yeah, last month, I think. And just the room was just rocking with laughter. It was absolutely lovely. Uh,
Awesome.
Yeah, that
so
is
yeah,
well.
so I've written four in the series. I don't know if you're up to date.
Oh,
And then
wow.
we get the next one's coming out in November, then November 2026,
Great.
and then I'm at the moment currently book five is under construction.
Hmm.
And I had,
Cool.
had a really interesting idea the other day. I thought, I might just write some short stories set in this world. The adventures of some of the other characters,
Yeah.
not necessarily a whole big
Yeah.
fat book. So I
Little
might just
side
do,
quest.
yeah, because you remember Narek and Horm, the two
Hmm.
Yeah,
woodskin.
that's who I was thinking
Well,
about.
those guys are a couple of scoundrels. What do they
Yeah.
get up to? I'd love to see their adventures. So I might just see if I can do those on the side, and then we can have an extra, like more depth to the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Juron and Jalen, I guess,
Durin and Jaren, yeah.
Jaren.
Yeah, Jaren. Yeah.
But
So are they just pure evil, or aren't there backstory
Oh
behind
no,
it?
No,
no,
Jaren isn't evil. Jaren is. Well,
Durin
he
was the
does
bad
evil
guy.
things.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but
So
that's this backstory to the realm that just came out of nowhere. That was a really nice,
Mhm.
nice world building thing that happened.
Yeah.
Uh,
but
so
anyway,
And
thanks.
I always like origin stories, how they met, that kind of thing.
yes, absolutely, I love it.
Yeah.
And when a character in this any story that I'm reading it or writing it tells something that happened in the backstory of Esmeralda's birth and how that came about, and is
Right, right.
those are all told, and I really enjoy
mm,
those bits, especially when I read them in other people's books as well. When
Right.
they, one of the characters of the book tells you a story, so it's a tale
yeah,
within a tale that
Right.
sort of fleshes it all out.
Mhm.
Well,
they get
Lisa,
their
if
own
you ever need
chapter
somebody to
basically.
read a female part, Lisa's looking for work.
No, it's all right. I just hitch my underwear up tight and go. Oh no, I do my best. But
Have you considered talking to a dialect coach?
well, Fred's American and he helps.
Oh, okay.
So you sort of indicate up to the point. But I'm happy to give it a go.
I
He's not
But
know
we'll
that.
have to.
female either, so he's got the whole thing to swing.
But if you like, I'll send you um, codes so that you could download from a downpour, get a free
Oh,
book, enter a
excellent.
code.
Yeah.
So I'll
Yeah,
send.
because I do want to read the whole book.
Well,
Got partway
I
through it, and then the library took it back for some reason, and they wouldn't let us get it again.
bastards.
I
Hmm.
don't
Is
know.
that an electronic library or a
Yeah, right.
physical library? Is it a physical?
Electronic library.
We,
Our library did not have the physical book, but they did
but
have
we
the
were
electronic book.
Okay,
we
well,
had a
But it
PDF
was a
mailed to us.
limited
right.
release, and
We
Philip
had a
was reading
PDF
it
mailed to us,
first, and
Lisa.
he got partway through, and then I started reading partway to catch up to him, and then they yanked it back.
You don't understand. I got the
What?
PDF, and
Uh-huh.
then we were reading using the iPhone audio,
Oh, that's got to be
and
quite
it was a
tricky.
slog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it's
That's
easy
what.
to
yeah,
easy
that
to read
okay.
on a tablet.
Okay, fine. That's what it was.
I think so. Anyway.
You could always.
Yeah.
My
So we,
publisher started a side hustle called
Mhm.
Bookbale, Bookbale, which is a subscription thing. So I think it's $9 a month. You get $30 worth of books, and they're yours to keep forever. You don't have to
Oh,
give them back like you do with Kindle. So
Mm,
you might want to check that out. But
right.
yeah,
I listen to
interesting.
audiobooks much more than I read these days.
me
I read
too.
more than I never listen if I can help it.
I
Once in
like
a
both.
while, if it's by the author,
Yeah.
if it's Kurt Vonnegut reading, okay.
Yes. Well, let me send you both codes
Yeah, that'd be
so that
great.
you can
Yes,
download
thank
both
you.
books and get up to speed. Because
Yeah,
if you
thank you.
don't finish them by October, there's another one
Yeah.
coming out, and I think it's on Halloween Day itself.
Are they all the same size as the first one?
They are,
About 500 pages?
yeah, they are. With every book, I aimed for 40 chapters, but there's a
Hmm.
very interesting thing that happened. One of the panels I was at I think it might have been Worldcon in Glasgow, which was really good fun this year. There was four editors on the panel, and I really wanted to go and watch it. So because I've done a lot of script editing as well as working with a really good book editor on my books, I really wanted to go and soak up the wisdom. And one thing
Hmm.
that they all said, well, one guy said it and they all laughed and agreed, is when they get books from new writers, not necessarily young, but unpublished writers, submissions, quite often the note they have to give the writer is, cut the first three chapters. Because inexperienced
Hmm.
writers think they have to do a lot of world building before they get on with the story. I found that, and the others all just laughed and said, "Yeah, all the time." You don't. You do the world building as the story unfolds and reels along.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I like that better.
Do you work from
Oh,
like are you like rigid structure? Do you have outlines? You know how it's going to go before you begin writing the prose. Um,
I both. It's a fluid structure, not. It's not rigid. I
okay.
create the synopses as I go along. I have another file on the side, which is my assembly file, and when I finish a chapter, I do a 2-line, 3-line description of what it is, and what happens in it. And sometimes I jump ahead, like, oh God, that's going to happen there. We aren't there yet, but there's one in book 3, which was I just couldn't wait to write it. And it was about coming in about 6 chapters time. So
Mhm.
I just wrote that thing, and when I got there, of course, polish it and fit it in. So
Yeah.
it's all fluid, and a lot of it is editing and construction and rewriting and
Right.
polishing.
Putting the puzzle together, kind of.
Yes, well, especially as my books have puzzles in them. You've got
Yeah.
quests. You've got to figure out, what does this mean? What's this riddle? Well, I can see
Like
what it
the
says, but I
nursery
got
rhymes got all the clues in it. Yeah.
absolutely. And in book 3, there's one that you just look at it and go, well, it's all there, but what? And of
Mhm.
course, you're going along with the hero as he tries to figure it out, or they all do, and bits reveal themselves,
Right.
which I always enjoy in a story when I'm reading.
Yeah.
I'd like to revisit, like I wrote when I was younger, and it's like, and I didn't have any discipline at all about it. So, I mean, I didn't know where my stories were going, and I just, winged it. And I feel like today I'd have more discipline about it and be able to probably find it more rewarding today to revisit that.
Well, there's nothing wrong with just winging it. I mean, the first book was pretty much just winged, but I was always pulling focus and always coming back to assembling the outline as I went along. I've never, in any of the 4 books, done a complete outline ahead of time. I know where, when I got the idea for the world and the story and the situation, the first job was to write, how does this land? So I figured out my ending. That's the first thing you have to do with anything. And then once you've got your ending, you've got 400 pages to play and get there. Go by the pretty route,
Right.
explore, make the most of it. But it's got to pay off. It's got to be explained. It's got to be solid, and it mustn't cheat on the audience. They've got to say, "Yeah, okay, you led me up the
I
garden
agree that you
path."
would need more structure, though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. What?
I think Philip would need more structure.
Who? What?
Phil,
Philip
she thinks Phil would
would
need more
need more
structure.
structure.
Well, you. What I'm trying to say is, don't beat yourself up about it. And
Yeah.
the structure might reveal itself as you go along. You keep.
Yeah.
One of the best pieces of advice is from Philip Pullman, who says, just look, you've made a promise you're going to write 500 words a day, just sit down and write them. And I can add to that, saying, look, if they're no good, you can throw them away the next day. In book
Yeah.
3, the one that's got this really intricate plotting, I must have thrown away 200 or 300 pages. Looking back, you go, oh, of course, it all makes sense. But at the time, plodding forward, I was trying this, I was trying that, I was trying the other. Some some bits didn't fit with the story, and some bits the story led me up the wrong garden path. So you have to have patience, but you also have to have discipline.
Yeah.
And story structure is really the most important thing, especially in our kind of fiction. In literary fiction, people quite often don't really bother with story structure. They're doing a different kind of writing. But
Right.
those of us who like, well constructed stories and good adventures, those take working out. And it's the hardest thing for any writer to do is story structure.
This was a good, well-constructed story with little smaller stories within it.
Well, thank you. That's kind of what I was
Yeah.
aiming for. It's really nice that that worked for
And
you.
there was lots of humor.
There is that. There was I've got a nice review about a month ago from an English, actually he's a writer himself, but also contributes to the science fiction and fantasy website magazine.
Hmm.
And he, because of my background in comedy writing, he said he was a bit worried that I might be, taking the mickey out of it, writing a spoof. And he said it's nothing like that at all. And he came up with this term fantasy, F-U, which
Oh,
I really like that. He said,
yeah.
so I think of what I write as fantasy.
Yeah. That's
Because
how
I'm
I would
just,
describe Terry Pratchett as
well,
fantasy.
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I don't write like Terry. He's doing a different
Yeah.
job, but he is
There was
brilliant.
only one. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, he's very tongue in cheek, Terry, a lot of the time.
Oh,
Mhm.
very.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is not what I do. And I don't like write like Douglas Adams,
Yeah.
even though we're contemporaries and we were great
Yeah.
friends. But
Right, like Richard Sparks.
yeah, exactly. And that's really what every writer needs to do is find his or her own voice.
Yeah.
And quite often, I tell younger writers or inexperienced writers, just look, try copying other people for a bit, just for a paragraph. Write write a paragraph like Dorothy Parker. If you
Yeah.
can write if you can write a paragraph as well as she does, you're off to the races. Or P.G. Woodhouse,
So do
or all those great American Chandler, for example.
you you mentioned 500. You force yourself almost to do 500 words a day, or at least make an attempt. What do you do? Like, you ever sit down? I don't know if you write in the morning with your coffee or the evening with a nightcap or something, but do you ever sit down? You have writer's block. What do how have you
Yeah, of course,
contended with that? Or
everyone does, but you've made that commitment that you're going to do it. I mean, you allow yourself a day off if you're really frazzled and not going too well, because one of the things that's dispiriting about writing is when it's going badly and you're writing poor stuff. Um,
Plug.
well, I'm thinking particularly in terms of, when I was doing a lot of script writing, sometimes you're writing other people's ideas, and it's really just not ever going to be particularly great. It might be all right, it might pay the bills, it might be good potboiler stuff. But what you really want to do as a writer is write the thing that pings and that speaks to you and that hits, like Aaron's saying, he enjoyed it. That's what the thing that jumped that, on stage, whatever jumps across between from the footlights to the audience and back, that connection. That's the thing that is really exciting. And sometimes it's a struggle. So, as I said, the first book flew out in 2 months with, since then, a lot of editing, a lot of rewriting. I worked with 3 editors, including Leslie, who's the executive editor at my publishers, who is brilliant. She's a great, great editor. And, I've learned a lot from working with her. So by the time she gets to the second and third books, there's less for her to school me on
yeah,
because I've got it. I said, okay, I've got that note. I won't do that again. I mean, one example is right at the beginning, the publishers, Kasich said they'd take me on if I would have a developmental edit. I said, look, the first thing I
Mhm.
said to my agent, who was on the Zoom call with us, was can't wait to work with a good editor because I've done so much script editing. You know that's where you get the gold, where things get really, you tighten it. You've already got your structure. It gets really, you know.
Mhm.
And I said to Leslie at the beginning, look, I'm really looking forward to this because I've been working show business for 4 decades. I'm really looking forward to going to tell business because for me, narrative and telling a story is really the highest form of writing. And she said, no, you're not. I said, what? She said, no, don't know. Don't tell me. Show me. I said,
Huh.
okay, go on, go on. There's the note coming. I can tell. She said, well, look, picked a scene. Here, this is a really good scene. I love this scene. And don't tell me, show me. Bring it to life. You're telling me what happened. Show it happening. Brilliant note. Brilliant note.
yeah. Um, can you think? Uh, can you think of a film or a television show or something like that where the writing really was the what really set it apart from other, you like I don't I guess like Severance is on right now. What how that's come back
Actually,
into
I can't. I
season two.
can, and it gives me an opportunity to name drop
Okay.
because this is really actually kind of sad because it was at a friend's house in the Palisades in October. That house is now gone. This was
Mhm.
a few months ago, and he's a friend of William Shatner. So I was at dinner with Bill, as he's known, and he was
Mhm.
extremely bright, and very lively, full of beans and funny. And I was able to talk. It was only about 12 of us at dinner,
Yeah.
and I talked to him, say how much I enjoyed Boston Legal because of that, the
Oh yeah.
standard of the
Yeah,
script
that was a
write.
good show.
David E.
I said,
Kelly.
yeah, I said because the writing is brilliant. And he said, oh, David Kelly's a genius.
Yeah.
And I, really admire it when I see, I like some of Steve Knight's work is fantastic. He
Mhm.
did Peaky Blinders,
Oh, Peaky
um,
Blinders is
Oh,
which
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
the
That was,
first,
man.
the first 3 series were brilliant. I think I didn't really get on with the fourth, but and then he also did the SAS Rogue Heroes, which
We
was
finished it.
bizarre. Yeah. Did you see SAS Rogue Heroes based on Ben McIntyre's book?
I'm
No.
not familiar with that.
Well, it's how the SAS started in 1941 in the desert, but they do it with, they're driving around the desert listening to AC/DC and stuff. So
Huh.
it's got rock and roll. It actually works,
Yeah.
and it's good fun. So
Sounds
check
like
it out. There's just
sounds
been a
like the
second
first Iron
season.
Man movie too.
Yes, but
Is SAS Rogue Heroes a movie or a
it's
series?
a television series, and it's just had the second season. But I'd recommend giving it a check, checking that out.
Where
But
do you
he's a good
where
writer.
can you see that?
BBC iPlayer.
Oh, that's why.
Uh,
I'm sure it's out there on the interwebs as well, if on some subscription or other,
somewhere.
because it was,
Yeah, we just we have this. We're not we're not paying another 9.99 a month.
no, exactly. For
well,
every damn.
The whole point was to pay less, not more,
Funny
yeah,
how that didn't work out, isn't it?
by jumping out of cable.
they got it all
Yes,
figured out.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna get our money no matter what.
I think that's what it is. I mean, I really have a low tolerance for for any form of entertainment where I feel like the writing or the dialogue is bad, or
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just
I agree.
not sit there and watch shit that's like just like that's all CGI or that's all,
Yeah, it's
overproduced.
and it gets well. The trouble with TV, of course, is it always goes on a season too long,
Yeah,
and
Yeah, I got to shout out The Wire, I think,
The
for
Wire, I love
Or
The Wire.
sometimes
what it
not long
was.
enough. But yeah, The Wire.
Maybe The Sopranos
yeah.
too.
Well,
Breaking Bad.
they're only 11 episodes of 40 Towers. That's not
Yeah.
didn't go on very. But another show that I thought was wonderful and really gave me a reconsideration of some wisdom that I'd heard from a very experienced English writer when I was in my 20s. Um, yeah, it's Jerry O'Hara. He used to work on the Avengers, the original Avengers series, and he
Mm.
said went to meet him and hang out with him, and
Jerry O'Hara, you said?
I think that was his name. Yeah, pretty certain.
So he
Was it
wasn't,
English.
the Emma Peel era?
did he play,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't play Steed, right? Or did he?
No, no, that was Patrick McNee.
That's right, Patrick.
But that period.
Yeah,
So I went to meet him, and he said the trouble with young writers your age coming up is they haven't lived. All they've seen is television, and we had to do. I don't know if he was in the war, but maybe national service, and because he would have been in his 50s, so yeah, possibly.
yeah.
And I
Well,
thought that's
that show was very witty. The writing in
yeah,
that show was like
very
uncannily
very
good.
cool,
It's
very
like, yeah,
very 60s, very
very
sharp.
upbeat, up to,
Yeah.
like Emma
Incredibly hip for
Peel
the
with her
time, I'm sure.
Yeah,
innuendo.
and very knowing. So I thought, well, that's really wise. And then I saw the show, not Beetlejuice, what's it called? Wednesday,
Hmm.
which I was just blown away by the standard of writing.
Oh
And I
yeah.
thought, Jerry's actually, he was wrong because the young writers these days, they're probably, I don't know, in their 20s and 30s, like most writers are in the television world, in the writer's room. They've actually had a masterclass all their lives in great television. They've grown up watching
Yeah.
great quality television. So by the
Mhm.
time they're going to university and doing their writing courses and getting employed, they're really good. And the
Yeah,
standard of writing in Wednesday, I just thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think you should write people off just because,
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah.
you're referring to the
Especially the
Jennifer Ortega, right? The
Jenna
Jenna.
Ortega
Jenna
Yeah.
Ortega, not
Jenna
Jennifer.
Ortega.
and,
Jenna
and Tim
Yeah.
Ortega.
I
Burton.
think like especially the first 4 or 5 episodes were really good.
Yeah,
I've
that's
I've only
stunning.
seen the first season. I'm not sure if the second's out.
I
It is.
I know it's
Uh,
cut. Is it out? Oh, great!
Yeah,
Can't wait. But
uh,
she's
I think
luminous,
so.
that girl. I mean,
we
she's
haven't
really something.
I
we
thought
haven't
it came
signed
out
up
a
for
while
Netflix
ago.
at the new house yet.
No.
I did just do Apple TV Plus. I saw a little ad on the Roku Friday night. It said last chance, 3 free months of Apple TV Plus, followed by 9.99 a month. I said, yeah, I could do that.
There's that 9.99 again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
but
right. Yeah,
but
we
I'm not. I got rid of cable when I moved. So
right.
Uh,
Have you seen Severance
it's
yet, Aaron?
I have been binging it all day long. I'm on like episode 7 of the first
Yeah, it's like
season.
super creepy, but good.
It's really good.
Is it
Hmm.
good?
Yeah,
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
it
Yeah.
Ben Stiller is a really good director, it turns out.
right.
Yeah.
It's in the
I
blood.
mean, yeah,
They're
he's
He does a lot of stuff well. I
yeah,
mean,
oh
he
yeah, yeah.
really
writes, he directs, he
the first scene of
produces.
the first episode. If it doesn't grab you, I guess the show's not for you, maybe. But it's
He does.
pretty well
Right.
directed and well
Well, you
shot.
know what? That's it didn't grab it took us like a year to get to like the third
Yeah, it was a
episode,
slow
and
burn
then
for
we just, zoomed on through.
Oh, I just started last night, so
It was kind of
I don't
like
have that. I don't have that year of
what was that
experience with it.
show that you made us? watch the like first 6 episodes before we gave up on it.
Is it What We Do in the Shadows or
No, no, the other one. Um,
um
Flag means death.
no.
was No Flag
Although,
Means Death?
although
And
that was a
I couldn't
slow
tell
burn
you.
for us as well. We haven't seen season 2 yet.
I couldn't tell
Um,
you. I don't
which I
remember.
would like to see. No, the guys come over from New Zealand
Oh, flag.
and their manager, yeah, Flight of the Conchords.
Flight of the Conchords. Oh.
It took us forever to finish watching those 6 episodes, and then we were so hooked, we binged everything else. My favorite episode of that is brilliantly written, is the one where the one guy purchases a second-hand coffee mug because he's tired of sharing their mug. Because they've got one mug at this point. So he buys the secondhand mug for less than $2 and it completely destroys them financially. And they both have to get part-time jobs. And it's just so funny.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
The Bowie episode's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I feel like that show really is, it was so well done. You don't
Yeah.
even realize how good it is, but it really stays with you.
So we should
That's the that's
mention
what I yeah,
we
go
were
ahead.
talking to Richard Sparks, author of New Rock, New Roll,
Mm-hmm.
and this is Richard's second appearance on. Yeah, uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
And that's New Rock, New Roll with an ELOLE because it came out of my
Yeah.
love of, and it's the New Rock series. It's now because the second one is New Rock, New
New
Realm,
role as in role playing. Yeah.
and then there's
yeah.
New Realm, and then third one's going to be New Rock, New Rules that comes out in November.
So do you still play? I don't want to say done. There's so many variations now,
There.
but do you play role playing games still? Or?
Well, the thing is, I've been so busy. It's not writing my own game, but writing my own world that was inspired by these great games that I don't have the time. And then the PR people in England said, "You can't say that. You can't come across. You've got to be say you're still a current gamer because they're promoting it as talking about the rise of the older gamer because not everyone on role-playing games is a 16-year-old kid."
Yeah.
And I stole this moment from an actual thing in a game where in the first chapter of New Rock New Roll, um, I was once playing and the guild master of one of our guilds posted in guild chat that she was retiring because she was going to be 85 next week, and did anyone want to take over running the guild, which is
Mm.
a lot of work. I thought, oh, yeah, wow. The people of all ages play. And of course, there's a lot of retired people with time on their hands and the money to
Yeah.
spend and,
Yeah,
and still want
Right.
to go adventuring, but don't want to leave the house.
Mhm.
right.
Amen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Like Joss.
it's better
Joss
than
Palmer.
yeah,
Bridge, I guess.
exactly. Well, Joss is basically me in disguise. It's a mixture of me and my dad. He was a school teacher. And I loved it. But I've sort of come out of the other side because I've got everything I want out of it. I've got the inspiration, and all your life as a writer, you really want that one big idea that you go, wow, this is it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And this is just what I want to do for the rest of my writing days.
So you're not
Spelt
doing
however you
comedy
wish.
writing anymore. I'm sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
I
Script
just said
writing, no.
cool.
Well, no, there is a script thing that I put together a few years ago that's showing signs of rising from the grave. So if that happens, but I won't do any more of the. I've written the scripts, but we'll hand over to someone else to do it because I want to stick with. This is my bliss. The new.
Yeah.
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 Now, if this were to
If the other
be
writing doesn't make you happy, why do it?
Oh, it
right,
does, but I don't have the brain space. This is
right now, this is incorporate,
yeah,
consumed.
and they're quite complicated. Some of the knots I tie myself in
Yeah.
trying to come out
I
the other
had to write
side.
a book report on it.
Right.
I
Aaron's
Oh,
book
you
Yeah.
try.
report is an A plus, man. We're getting ready to grade it,
Yeah.
had
put notes on it, and
I got a solid 5 pages
I think Richard, I think I'm
of
gonna
the
send it
plot
to
and
It's
the
you.
intimidating.
characters and
Oh, well, that's lovely. I mean, if you want to write the book for me, you're welcome.
no, no
It
thanks.
takes, but it's great. It's great fun. I love it.
Yeah, actually I read the book twice because
Oh,
I read about probably 10 or 12 books since then and they said, "Hey, could you write up a little summary for us?" And I said, "Okay, I better go back and look at it
Oh,
again.
Oh,
Oh
we
wow, this
really
was 500
appreciate
pages.
that.
So
oh,
there we go,
We were
plowing.
thinking, Philip was thinking 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, you
oh,
Okay.
well,
can't
that's
summarize this
Aaron
in
did
two
an almost,
paragraphs.
he did a miniature dissertation.
oh, that's
It
great.
was
Right. Perhaps I
it was
should
a it was a
no,
breakdown.
should get a
Yeah.
copy of it. No,
Yeah, we could
no,
send
no.
you a copy.
It's that's great. I have a friend who
I missed some things and thought about them. I'm like, oh, screw it. I can't go.
uh,
I'm not adding any more. It's already 5 pages.
Well, I am, as soon as as soon as we get that, I'm going to be reading it because,
I'll get you the tape,
Yeah.
the codes sent.
okay,
Um,
okay.
so you're through Luan? Is that?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I'll write to Blackstone and get codes because each
That's
one is a one-use code.
cool. Put it
And
on
Okay.
Kindle there.
Yeah, that's
so,
fine.
I'll
right.
send you
But,
Aaron's notes too. You might have a good time reading.
Yeah.
oh, okay. I mean,
And
kind of fun, yes, because you
it's
obviously,
a
yeah. I
Google
mean,
Doc.
well, you want, it's, as I said, it's the relationship between the reader and the writer, or between the actor and the audiences.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what makes
Are we
art.
actually going to meet the fairy fucking godmother at some point? Or is
Oh,
that a
wow.
spoiler?
Listen, that is so cool because one of the things that the publisher's doing is there's a big lit RPG
Mhm.
community, and they like
Right.
short books. So what he's done is he's done a lit RPG version where you get like 10 chapters at a time or eight or something. So you get a bit, and then you get a free bit. And, because the cover and the promise of the first chapter are that there will be magic in this world. Well, there isn't any until he, as you know,
He
he
finds the
trains.
Mhm.
staff.
Well, when he trains with Marnie and he
Right.
finds everything. So that comes in like halfway through the book. So the editor said, well, look, you really need to let people know that this is going to happen. So now there is a 2 or 3 page prologue at the beginning with the fairy fucking godmother finding the
Yeah.
Heartstone. So that promises, that sets up the fact that this is all going to happen before we go into the story as is. So you'll hear that on the tape when you hear it, and you go, oh,
Yeah,
and
nice.
yeah,
Okay.
we believe it works.
Junie's favorite sobriquet, the fairy fucking godmother.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Now, if this were to be produced, would you want it to be anime or live action, movie or series?
Well, we've sold the film rights, and I've written the movie
Oh,
script, and it's
wow.
Very cool.
well, I've had a lot of practice adapting books, and
And
Right, right.
scripts.
I wasn't sure. Well, sitting with the producer, I said, you sure you don't want to do TV series? And he said, no, that the landscape's really changed. People don't want these long, wallowing series anymore. They want the 2 hour in and out adventure. And I said, well,
Yeah,
I
Game
think,
of Thrones got to be a slog.
but didn't it? Yes, although it was absolutely wonderful to start,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
books are brilliant.
But
Once you
Um,
surpass
I
the
agree. Wish I
author
had read the
for
books.
yeah. Oh, the
yeah,
books, I love
you
them.
get past where the author got in content, and then it's no man's land, I guess.
Right,
I'll
right.
get back to that in just a second about the books, those audio books, because Fred produced them, as I said, my producer. Anyway, so I said, well, I think um, I'm not sure. Anyway, so the books are about 470 pages, I think that one, and the screenplay is 121 pages, which is a minute a page. That's 2 hours. So and it would be live action. It would be a lot of CGI.
Okay.
And the producer's got a studio in Europe that he is helping to put
That's
together.
exciting.
Yeah,
Did
you
did
got
you
So if anything,
maintain a certain amount of control?
yeah, orcs and
not
ifrits you're gonna have to create.
really.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be great, isn't it? Not really. I mean, you just have to trust the people that you're working with. I trust the producer. Obviously
Okay.
we don't know who the director is yet because it's
Right.
still got to be financed and put together and blah 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 blah. And you need what's called elements. Elements would be a name actors,
Yeah.
name director. So it is set up to be a 2 hour movie, but none of this
Cool.
means anything until so many more hoops are jumped through. So,
Right. Right.
but live action definitely because it's just actually quite fun. He had a meeting. He's London based. He had a meeting recently with a big CGI company, And they were just
Mhm.
chatting about it. And he said, "What are you looking for?" And they said, "Well, what we really want is we're looking for a project where we can do a lot of world building and create our own worlds and have an adventures with it." And he said, "Well, I have the very thing for you." Sent them the scripts. I don't know how that's gone down, but it must have been nice sitting there with someone saying, "This is what we want," and then thinking, "Ah, I
Yeah,
have the very product."
Right.
very
Uh,
cool.
yeah.
Good
Uh,
luck.
So yeah, the story about the Game of Thrones audiobooks that Fred told me was that by the time the actor Roy Dotrice came to do the fifth book, Dances with Dragons, I mean, he's
Mhm.
fairly elderly. He's now died. Um, he couldn't remember people's accents.
Mm.
So
Wow.
Tyrion would be Welsh in one chapter and Scottish in another and things like that.
Mhm.
And Fred was always winding him back in Brienne, 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 getting
Yeah.
different pronunciations.
yeah.
So,
Mhm.
quite a fun
So
moment.
Mhm.
I mentioned Ifrits a minute ago. Where
Yeah,
did the name Ifrit come from?
I think that's ripped off from C.S. Lewis. They're
Okay.
Efrits and actually they're an Arabic spirit from the desert, from the Arabian Nights. I think they
All right.
Is
up in
that
that.
similar to like what we would consider a genie?
But not genies. No, the genies
No.
are different, but they're sort of desert spirits of some sort. I'm
Oh.
not particularly sure. I just made my guy's a creature, a monster. But
Yeah.
everything is, we're all plowing the same ground as each other, but putting our own spin on it. I mean,
He's
as
got
you
a
saw,
nearly indestructible bird-like demonic
yeah,
creature,
they're pretty serious.
kind of
But I mean,
undead.
if you call someone an elf in my world, you get your head chopped off. It's a real
Yeah.
insult.
Elves are nasty little
The pit
pit
elves,
elves.
they'll eat you as soon as they see you. The longer you suffer, the more better you taste. So we're all,
Yeah.
and my orcs are lovely. They're salt of the earth. I mean, they love nothing more than a good scrap and a good booze up, but
Yeah.
Mother
they're
of all
they're they're,
fights.
they're decent people.
Well, there
They,
was a horror. There's a horror movie called Elf, right? I think there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
with
maybe these elves you're talking about kind of come from that world.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, as I
Oh,
said,
there's a lot
someone
of
else.
different elves in all the worlds.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you look at Terry Pratchett, he did Lords and Ladies, and his elves were very
Hmm.
upper class, supercilious, cold-blooded,
Hmm.
Yeah,
mean people. So because he
they're
put
the
his,
villains for sure.
he didn't want to.
Granny Weatherwax wasn't having with him.
No, right, right, right. That's a long time since I read that.
I just reread The Fifth Element.
I just
Ah,
reread all 41 novels.
really?
Man, you were like
That-
you were cranking
That's
them out, man. You're like living a your mind must be just
Well,
going,
I wasn't working, so I just
yeah.
wake up,
slightly,
start
slight.
reading.
And he's not a TV-aholic.
No, but
Well,
he's spitting
well,
severance then. He's like,
Yeah.
he's so
Yeah.
enjoyable. I mean, Terry's very enjoyable. My agent, when she was pitching the books, I got 3 books written before we went to market because, I said we've got to make sure we got an actual product, not just one book, 'cause that's no good to a publisher.
Mhm.
Right.
So when we've done
Especially
three,
not in the fantasy genre.
yeah, it's got to be a thing and building
A world.
building a world, building an author, building a brand, all that. So she would say to the publishers, all the fun fantasy comes from England. Terry Pratchett, Douglas Adams, Michael Moorcock. And the English do that really well. And she pitched me to one publisher, I don't know who. She called me up laughing and said, well, I told them, all the fun comedy, all the fun fantasy comes out of England with the comic touch to the adventures. And
Mhm.
the person at the other end said, we take our fantasy very seriously. I said, well, maybe we don't send it to them.
yeah. I think I,
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah.
prefer the former. I like it to be
I
a
like
little
a little
lighthearted.
humor.
Yeah, definitely.
It,
At least a
well,
little.
it gives it light and shade, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
because
mean,
it
I found Piers Anthony, and that led me to David Eddings and Terry Pratchett, and uh, yeah. So
yeah.
That's what I found about Star Trek. Is it seemed like some of the late, especially in some of the latter
Mhm.
incarnations, it seemed like the humor's few and far between. Like they might have a
Mhm.
little, they might close out the episode like with some little anecdote or something, but
Well,
for
they
the
tried
most
to
part, like
It's important to weave it in
Riker
through.
and all the ladies look like
Riker
fashion
and
models.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I've only ever really watched the original series.
yeah. I
Well,
didn't watch the other ones much, but I saw enough of them that it turned me off. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, comedy
And
is
me, I've watched most of them.
Comedy is not nice people telling jokes. That's a dinner party. Comedy is
Yeah.
things going terribly wrong and people falling into puddles and disasters and betrayals and
The
mishaps
Ministry of Silly
and
Walks.
screw-ups, yes, and
Yeah.
absurdities. And what adventure isn't full of all those
Yeah.
things going wrong?
I love
Uh,
absurdity.
yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Well, the
Like
Pythons.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right?
Well, that's whimsy. I mean, Douglas, as I said, he's my contemporary, and we had the same agent in London, and we did actually work together on a couple of things that never went anywhere.
Okay.
And yeah, the first time I heard about Hitchhiker, I went to a pub and there was Jeff McGivern, the actor. So I said, "Oh, hey Jeff, how are you?" And he said, "Oh, great. Douglas has written a radio show and I'm in it." "Oh, really? What's it called?" "It's called Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy." I said, "Oh, what a good title."
Yeah, right.
And then
Yeah.
a few months later, it was on air, and our mutual friend John Lloyd wrote the last two episodes with Douglas,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then Douglas
And
turned
like
it into a book later.
that early 70s.
Mid 70s, this would have been 1977.
Mm.
So
I would
yeah,
like
so
to say that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, come
Yeah. I know exactly where my towel is.
on.
I
Good.
have I literally have across the room from me a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy towel from the Disney movie from
Oh,
Swag at Disney.
ooh, I
Yeah,
would love one of
Uh,
those.
What about the
yeah.
psychology of
Mine's just a bath, a hand bath towel that I
Mhm.
literally take everywhere because it works as a pillow for my neck.
yeah.
When I spill something on me,
I don't use
inevitably,
this one because someone did use one, wash it once, and it kind of came apart and was never the same. So it's still an unused
yeah, I could,
hitchhiker's towel. I'll be right
yeah.
back with it.
In that case, never mind. I'll just embroider one.
What about
Uh,
the psychology of titles? Because I mentioned Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The title is its own phenomenon. It's like
Yeah,
people who have not read it, know nothing about it.
but they
They
know
it's such
that
like Little
title.
yeah,
Shop of Horrors or
Hmm.
2001: A
yeah,
Space Odyssey, you know.
Okay.
yeah. It's a
Do you
good.
have any do you
Is
ever
it
have any
backwards? It
remorse
shows
when you
up
look back on
backwards
your
for me.
writings or anything that maybe, oh man, I should retitle or rebrand my work?
Um,
Is that something that ever
can't think of anything that. But no, but I mean, yeah, a title that pops out, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Nice.
obviously, New Rock, New Roll is kind of jokey because a rock is like third rock from the sun is a planet. They're on a new planet. They have new roles in life as their own avatars. So it's got a sort of light-hearted feel to it.
Right,
So sometimes titles do just jump out at you and say, "Yeah, here we go."
right.
But I can tell you, I mean, Douglas was okay. So I told that story about the first time I heard of Hitchhiker to Gail Renard, who's currently the treasurer of the British Writers Guild, was its chair twice. And she and Douglas used to do sketch comedy together, double act. And she was my writing partner on a couple of series. And when I told her about bumping into Jeff in the pub, she said, "Oh, I can do better than that." And I said, "What?" She said, "Well, you remember Douglas and I used to do a double act?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, I hadn't seen him for 2 or 3 weeks, and he came round to my flat and flopped down in the chair. And Douglas was enormous, by the way. Um, and he said, I've just been hitchhiking around Greece. I wonder what it'd be like to hitchhike around the galaxy." And Gail being very practical, said, "Oh, for God's sake, Douglas, we've got a sketch to write. Concentrate." So she won that story.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well, that's it
Pretty
was a great
awesome.
title. Turned out to be a great title. So,
it
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so okay, so
I wish the movies could have, yeah,
lived up to the title.
right.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where, I don't know.
It's hard to
Is it
make a
just
good
too
Zaphod
difficult to do
Beeblebrox.
to get
Well,
across?
yeah, I thought the original radio show is the best version because there was a TV
Yeah.
version done in England. But I loved the radio show. I was just driving around listening to it, being very proud of my chum doing
Do you
it. And of
know if
course,
that's available?
Mhm.
oh yes, yeah, the
Yeah.
BBC,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
It's
And it's
probably on
such good
Spotify.
writers, such good voices. Peter Jones is the book. It's much more engrossing for me than the book. I thought was you know, by comparison, whimsy. But that's because you are, when you're invested in something in a fan, as a fan, you go, oh, it's better that version. Or like,
Mm.
you see a book turned into a film, and you think, oh, the book was better than the film, or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's a high standard that he set.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the radio did come before the book in this case, right?
Oh yeah, that's how it started. And they played it to Terry Jones.
Mm.
They sat down and read the scripts to him, and he said, "Well, I don't get it. I'm sure it's really good because you've written it." He and Douglas were great friends. I'm sure it's going to be fine, but I'm not sure I understand it. Because it was obviously the next generation of humor.
That's kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Well, so we've been doing since last time you were here, Richard. We started doing our Elite Eight mini bracket, and it's not required participation, but usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes. And yeah, we think it's kind of fun. Lisa came up with a list of sci-fi characters.
Do it. So if you don't like it, it's his fault.
So they'll name two, and you pick the one you prefer, or
Okay.
Okay.
So who's moderating and who's participating in the film, Lisa's side?
Why don't I moderate since I made it?
Okay.
Okay. So now welcome to the Elite Eight. This time we're going with sci-fi characters. So basically all you're doing is saying, I like this one better than that one. Feel free to discuss. Okay. So the first set is James T. Kirk versus Buck Rogers.
Oh, Kirk.
Kirk. Yeah.
Who do you want to go, Lisa?
No, I met Bill last
Yeah.
in
Richard?
October, so that's I now feel personally invested. Apart from that, that series was great fun at the beginning. Loved it.
Yeah. I worked at Disney with a huge Bill Shatner fan. She's in the fan club and goes to Bill Shatner related events. She's retired now.
Mhm.
He's like 93
But,
or something. He's like
Yeah, he's in his
so
90s.
Yeah,
vibrant,
but he's
Yeah.
sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great guest on podcasts.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're gonna take Bill, you're gonna take Kirk over Rogers.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Aaron?
Oh, yeah, Kirk.
Philip?
That's my captain.
You okay?
Yep.
So, next,
It was a sweep.
Ellen Ripley or Sarah Connor?
Ripley. Although
That's
Both badass.
Ripley's Aliens.
Yeah.
they frighten. I just love
Correct.
Weaver.
Yeah.
She's such a good actress,
Yeah.
and I love
Sigourney
Ridley
Weaver.
Scott. Scott's a great director.
Fine.
Sigourney Weaver for me.
Yeah, I'm going to Sigourney Weaver also.
Okay.
Ripley.
Marvin the
think I knew her first
Android
name.
versus R2D2.
Oh,
Is
R2D2. Because he's
yeah.
more fun. Marvin was a bore. I mean, that's
Is
the whole
Alan
point.
Rickman Marvin the Android, or
Oh, it's Stephen Moore was in the TV series, in the radio originally. He
the
was
Disney
wonderful.
movie? It was Alan Rickman.
Well, perfect casting. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What about
It's
Galaxy
pretty.
Quest?
It's pretty good, actually.
I'm a
Love
huge
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest
Yeah.
fan. I mean, he was so good in that Rickman.
He
Mhm.
was.
By Grabthar's hammer.
Mhm.
So good. Where I'm going to that.
Yeah.
Let's see if they have a pub.
Mhm.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
got a
he's-
great voice.
He was a great
Yeah.
actor. Was a
Oh
great
yeah,
actor.
he was.
He had a great voice.
Okay.
So it's R2D2, right?
Uh-huh.
Yep. Okay.
Janeway. Captain Janeway versus Captain Picard.
Wow.
Janeway was played by Kate Mulgrew. Okay. I
Oh,
wanted to say Mulligan, but-
Patrick Stewart. I'm a huge Patrick Stewart fan, and I saw him on stage in Stratford-on-Avon when I was probably about 18.
Oh,
And he did Ena Barbas in Anthony Cleopatra, among other things. Such a good speaking voice.
yeah.
And the favorite thing I remember to this day is he did Lance and his dog Crab from Two Gentlemen of Verona, and Lance is the clown, and the Crab is his dog.
Oh,
And he came on stage with this old sort of half Labrador, dark black, sweet thing with a grey muzzle, who just stood at one side of the stage and looked at Patrick and wagged his tail whenever Patrick stopped speaking. It's just stole it. And there's this bit where Patrick Stewart, he's ticking him off and saying, "Look, I told you to behave. I told you." This is not Shakespeare. This is me paraphrasing. I told you, do as I do when you come in. You're meeting ladies. It's got to behave yourself. When did you ever see me lift my leg and piss against a woman's skirt? And he looked at the dog, and the old dog just went wag, wag, wag. And we were in the audience in hysterics. It was just, I love Patrick Stewart. I've seen his Macbeth on stage in London. It's a bit gory, but he's just great.
Well,
He's one of
And
those
what a
read
voice.
phone book type guys with his words.
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
He's
All right, so
he's also the
card.
X-Men, right? He's
mhm.
Professor Charles
Sir
Yeah.
Xavier.
Patrick. Yeah. So the other person didn't stand a chance.
This is
Yeah.
going to be one interesting second round.
Oh, this is round 3. That was the final 4, so now we're on to the semifinals.
Uh-huh, round 2.
Okay.
Okay. You're typing semifinal. No. Now we do round 2.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, now we're
I'm
at
stepping
4.
on your toes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you've been stepping on them.
I know. I'm sorry. I'll make up for it later.
Okay. Captain Kirk or Ellen Ripley?
That's a weird matchup.
Isn't it? They're both weird.
I
Wait
think I'll
for
have to.
part 2.
I think I'll have to go with Kirk because he's got that comic edge. I mean, nothing very funny happens on the Nostromo, does it?
No.
Yeah, Kirk.
Mhm.
Sigourney Weaver would have made a great Amelia Earhart, I
Mhm.
think. But
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Kirk too. He's just,
I think she's doing. Isn't she doing the Tempest in the West End, playing Prospero across,
Oh wow.
sex reversal, gender reversal, however you meant to say it. I think she's doing that
I
in
didn't
London.
know.
Oh,
It
okay.
yeah.
interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, we're kind of not up on the LA theater scene.
No, this is
No,
in London.
that's the London
So
theater
it's
scene,
London
West
theatre.
End.
Oh, okay. London. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Next.
yeah.
Here we go.
Okay. R2D2 versus Picard.
Oh, Picard again.
Yeah.
My heroes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Although
that brings us
R2's never
to
spoken a word of.
the eternal question, and I did not plan this at all.
So it comes down to Kirk versus Picard.
Kirk versus Picard.
Kirk.
Well, there's nothing like the original. But if it was just the actors, I'd go with Stewart
Right.
because I love him from my youth, and he's brilliant. But of characters,
And he's more versatile.
probably well, I mean, God, few
Yeah.
actors were as versatile as him. Yeah, although
Right.
Kirk was pretty. I mean, Shatner was pretty good in
Yeah,
Boston
if it
Legal,
was
as we say.
actor versus actor, definitely Patrick.
Yeah, but I think a
character
character versus
versus
character.
character.
Well, I mean, Picard without Patrick Stewart, that character would have been nothing. They wanted the bearded guy to do it, the one who was his second in command.
Riker, yeah, no.
Yeah, and then eventually they said, no, Patrick Stewart's really so much better. I would have to go
And
with the original.
aside from all that logic,
Mhm.
if there's no Kirk, there's no Picard.
That's true.
There you go. I think we go with the original, the goat.
Huh?
It's already settled, but I will also note that Kirk has actually been to space.
That's true. Shatner
Yeah.
has.
So yeah, it'll
Yeah.
have to be Captain Kirk.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
his 80s, no less.
It's
Wow, it's
amazing.
hard to believe it's been more than 4 years since that happened.
Well, I think weren't we on? No, that was fairly recent.
No, that wasn't. No.
We were in the Bahamas when we saw the space shuttle take off with John Glenn, I think.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, and we didn't even
Wow.
realize it. We were just out on a boat going to a dolphin experience. And yeah.
A rocket shot over your head.
And we saw the shuttle take off. They paused the boat to point out, look, that's a shuttle.
Wow.
It was our
Wow.
first trip to Florida.
Wow.
Or yeah, it was
Yeah.
the first.
Well, Richard, once again, it's been a pleasure. We really enjoy our time with you. You're
Yeah.
welcome
Thank you.
back, for the
It's
next
been
book,
great.
or if you want to come
Fun
back.
chatting with you.
Look forward to
Well,
catching up on the rest of the series of
Well, what I'll
books.
do is I'll get you your codes so you can
Thank
wallow
you.
in my world and have
Very
fun.
generous. Thank you.
All
My
right.
pleasure. My pleasure.
You have a great rest of your evening.
Mhm.
Yes, thanks for being. Oh,
Yeah.
do you have
It's
any
it's Miller o'clock.
links?
Oh,
links
Oh,
and
yes.
social media to share?
forgot.
Yeah,
Actually, this is a good one because if you go to my website, richardsparks.com, there's no E in Sparks. You can get a free sample chapter from the first book or a free audio chapter from the first book, different ones. And the same for the second book. So there are actually 4 chapters up there. So you can get a bit of a taste for the world and the experience. And if you like it,
Cool.
please come on in. It's
All
fun.
right.
I recommend it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Pause the
We have
recording.
social.
Stay-
Twitter,
Yeah, pod.
Instagram,
Yeah, pod.
Facebook.
Yeah, pod. So let us know. Hit us back. Have a great week.